Hi, I'm Derek Catron in the PhocusWire studio at the Phocuswright conference, and I'm joined by Demi Horvat, the CEO at AirDNA, and Kurt Weinsheimer, Chief Solutions Officer at Sojern. Welcome. I'd like to open with a question for both of you. How has the importance of travel data changed in recent years? And can you offer any examples of how travel data may be used differently now? Who wants to start us off?
You want to go first?
Sure, why not? So I think I'll bring up a term that we've talked about forever, but has been out of reach, which is personalization. I think that previously we had a lot of data, but processing that data was super challenging. And so instead of really getting to that element of what the individual user wants, we went with averages. And as we found out, there is no average traveler. So now what we're able to do is with AI, with big data getting to that next stage, it doesn't take us days or weeks to process thoughts, insights from data and turn that into action. It's immediate. So for example, when we're doing targeting of travelers online, it would be that you'd build models, you'd set a plan, and you'd target users based on a couple data points and really hope and pray that you're hitting, on average, the right travelers. And today what's happening is we're pulling literally millions of data points every second. And so you are learning about a user's behavior, scoring that user, and targeting that user maybe within 1 or 2 seconds, something that would take kind of weeks of preparation in the past. So it's that scale of data and the speed of use of data has changed dramatically.
Okay. Demi, no saying just ditto. What do you think?
Well, I think one of the very interesting things happening in the industry has been there's just been so much change over the last several years that people are more heavily relying on data to tell them what to expect in the future because they can't rely on what they saw a year ago or 5 years ago. And along a similar line, but slightly different angle, I think one of the things that has been interesting for me to see is we saw so much change in traveler behavior with COVID and the post-COVID period, where one example of a big difference that we're now seeing in the data is many people tried short-term rentals for the first time because they didn't want to be exposed to so many other travelers at a hotel. That has shifted the industry forward in terms of short-term rental adoption and means that some of the other trends we're seeing, like increases in remote work, hybrid work, extended lengths of stay, because people are able to blend their work travel and their leisure travel, are things that we're keeping an eye on. And I think that there's just more of a realization that you can't just look at someone's demographics to determine what type of traveler they are. You have to understand what is the use case of this trip. Someone behaves very differently if they're blending a work and a leisure trip than if they're going on their wedding anniversary trip or a family reunion or something like that. And I think we're all getting more sophisticated in that way.
Great. Demi, I'd like to stay with you. AirDNA acquired Arrivalist in July, bringing under one roof, so to speak, 2 sets of data and 2 sets of data scientists. While it's still early, can you speak to what you've learned so far? And how do you expect that this will inform your understanding of traveler behavior?
Absolutely. I think one of the best things for me to see has been how much more creativity and innovation you get from having new people look at old problems. So one of the decisions that we made very quickly was we wanted to actually bring the teams together immediately rather than operating the 2 businesses separately. And that's meant that we have data scientists from the Arrivalist team looking at AirDNA problems. We have AirDNA product managers crafting the combined roadmap between AirDNA and Arrivalist. And that's just resulted in great new ideas where I think fresh eyes on any problem ends up taking you in a different direction. And then in terms of the data actually coming together, what's been fascinating for us is we have a great view of what's happening in the short-term rental industry, and we're basically looking at the results. So we know how many people booked stays, we know how much revenue was generated, and layering on the Arrivalist data gives us a second layer of insight into what's actually creating those results. So we can understand people's movements and visitation trends, and we can see if we saw a certain revenue number in Denver for short-term rental stays, is that because people are taking road trips from within Colorado to Denver, or is that from out-of-state travelers coming to Denver and flying in? And that's something that we didn't have visibility into before.
Okay. Kurt, I'd like to throw it over to you now. I understand Sojern will be publishing its State of Destination Marketing Report next week. Given that this video, I promise, will be published until after the report comes out. Can you speak to one or two insights from the report? And is there anything that maybe surprised or concerned you?
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of a sneak peek on the state of the market report.
We'll keep it quiet.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing is the span of the report. So it was supported by Brand USA, Discover Canada, and the European Travel Commission. So we talked to 300 DMOs around the world. So got a really broad perspective on trends, what they're thinking about, and what's important and what's concerning them. So given that we're talking about data, I'll hit on kind of two data points. One is over half of DMOs found that data was the number one decision-making tool for influencing their marketing decisions. So data now is the thing that they're really focused on. And the top two types of data that people are looking at is demographic data, obviously, but also behavioral data. So they're moving beyond that kind of like one and done objective view of that person and moving into more thought. When you talk about kind of what was interesting or concerning, one thing that was a little bit concerning, and I won't kind of go too deep, but take a look at the difference in looking at sustainability as important for travelers between Europe, Canada, and the US. Some really interesting numbers that I won't share now, but definitely recommend that you take a look at in the state of the market report.
Is this going to make me embarrassed to be an American? Don't answer that. Okay. But let's stick on sustainability, though, if we could. This question for both of you. As sustainability becomes an increasingly important concern, how can better data insights help destinations be smarter about managing crowds? Since you were already on sustainability, want to take this one first?
Yeah. So it's been a really interesting thing when you think about for destinations, social media has been both like a blessing and a curse, right? A blessing because it's getting your destination exposed. It's a curse because you're finding these kind of like Instagram worthy locations that are just getting pounded, right? And so what we've seen is destinations are trying to figure out how do we use data to first of all, foot traffic data to understand where is there a lot more activity and less activity. And then they're actually getting creative with their partners because things are getting more affordable in like the digital marketing space. They're actually building digital co-ops to support all their partners throughout the market. So it's not just the big guys that can afford to do the advertising and the marketing, it's everybody that gets to participate. So for example, Fjord Norway has done a really good job of co-marketing with attractions, activities, adventure, to make sure that when people visit their destination, they're not just going to the classic places, they're going to broader areas. And so it's increasing awareness and it's dispersing crowds in order to have a better experience.
And it makes for that great, unique Instagram shot that nobody else is going to have, right?
Keep it to yourself and your family.
Okay. Demi, what do you think?
I think, so we've had similar conversations with our destination customers. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about is how short-term rentals help them achieve the goal of preventing over-tourism and spreading that traveler demand across more different locations. And the way that they're able to do that through supporting short-term rentals is if everybody who's going to France as a tourist is visiting Paris, because there are places to stay in Paris, an abundance of hotels, there's not that much room to be driving people to towns outside of Paris that could use that tourist revenue. People want to go to those places. They want to eat at those restaurants. They want to see those more local sites. And short-term rentals are able to provide accommodation in places where it would take 5 years, 10 years to actually develop a hotel, and the demand probably wouldn't support that level of investment. So we've seen a really positive impact of short-term rentals being able to help destinations spread where all of those tourists are staying, and a corresponding benefit to local economies from having those tourist dollars go a little bit further than some of those classic destinations. And as a traveler personally, I think I enjoy the visits where I'm not surrounded by a massive crowd of people. So I think it creates better traveler experiences as well.
Great. Well, so Kurt, you brought up sustainability, and we talked about that. You brought up social media. It's like you've seen these questions or something. My next question was about social media and how destinations or STRs are taking advantage of social media channels to capture data that can be fed back to the companies to inform their strategies. You want to go first this time, Demi?
Sure, happy to. I think one of the big trends that we're seeing is just folks engaging with social media and engaging with their customers or their guests on social. So for us, I mean, we have increasingly been focusing attention on getting that customer feedback on social channels, really having those conversations and that type of engagement. And it's really with the intention of meeting people where they are. If that's where our customers want to engage, we need to be there in order to have those conversations with them. And then in terms of property managers or folks who have an individual short-term rental listing, for example, I think one of the fun trends that we've seen is people really capitalizing on cultural moments that they're seeing on social media. So you'll see things like Airbnb with the Barbie dream house. We see a lot of high-performing properties are themed. So there might be a Harry Potter themed property, or generally properties that are very Instagrammable. I mean, we're leaning into a cultural trend and a behavior that is increasingly common. And so some people are seeing that and playing into it in order to benefit their businesses.
Great. Kurt?
Yeah, and to build on that, what's interesting is the social media channels are actually becoming the content sources. So they're not only learning what their customers are doing and what they're excited about, but they're actually using that user-generated content to develop ads both in social media and beyond to entice users back. So using a lot of that data-driven thinking around, follow the data, follow what your customers are doing, leverage that information to then be basically doing better storytelling.
Great. Well, Demi Horvat, Kurt Weinsheimer, thank you so much for joining us at the PhocusWire studio. It's been a pleasure speaking with both of you.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks a lot, Derek.